From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parashat Tazria-Metzora, Above Nature. From time immemorial, and to this very day, people have challenged the Jewish notion of a Brit Milah, outlined at the outset of our Parashat Tazria. The Midrash Tanchuma on this Parasha tells the story of Tyrannus Rufus Harasha, one of the great Roman generals, a wicked man who tried to challenge Rabbi Akiva, a great sage, regarding the Bris Milah, the notion that Jews change and alter the human body. He said, Rabbi, what's better, Masav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu or shel Basar V'Dam? What's better, Rabbi? The deeds of man or the deeds of the Holy One, blessed be He? After all, then God's creation, the human body, creation of God Himself, isn't that better than what you carve out to breathe the human being, diminished, so to speak, after the circumcision, the Brit Milah? So the rabbi answered him in a surprising way, and he said, Shel b'nei Adam. It's better, the deeds of people are better. Why? He says, look, see this wheat? What would you rather have? Would you like some wheat? Some raw wheat? Or would you like this piece of bread? And he explained to him that sometimes the human being changes and alters nature in a way that makes it even more beautiful than it was before. Sometimes it's beautiful just to look at a pasture of grass. One of the most beautiful scenes you can look at is a scene of patches of farm fields. This is true beauty, crafted by the human being. But the Jewish notion is that yes, nature is beautiful, but we want to live beyond nature. And as my father, should live and be well, likes to point out, the number 8 for us, the day of the Brit Milah, represents not nature, but beyond nature. Because the Jew attempts to live on that level, on that plane, beyond the natural. See, 7 represents this world. 7 days of creation. 7 days in which the world in which we live, was created and God rested. But 8 represents Lamala Min HaTava. 8 represents going beyond the natural. And therefore, as many have pointed out, there are 7 days of Sukkot. Sukkot being a harvest festival, very much grounding us in this world. Where Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of Sukkot, goes beyond the natural. There are no concrete mitzvot. There's no sukkah, there's no lulav and etrog. It's an ethereal holiday celebrating the Torah, the Simchas Torah. This is 8. 8 is beyond the human, the farmer, the natural. Pesach as well, which we just celebrated. 7 days of Pesach. Pesach being celebration of our physical liberation from slavery. But if we want to go beyond physical liberation to receiving the Torah, to beyond the natural, to receiving the Word of God from Mount Sinai, when on Shavuos is the 8th day, says the Ramban, the 8th day of Pesach is 6 weeks later, Shavuos. Shavuos is the 8th day of Pesach. Shavuos is 8th because 8 is beyond nature. Getting the Torah is beyond the natural. The 7 days of Pesach represent the natural. Similarly, last week's Parsha, Vayhi Bayom HaShmini, when did they dedicate the tabernacle to God? On the 8th day. Because in this world, it's hard to find God. But in the 8th day, a world which is beyond the natural, in which God is infused into the human condition. This was on the 8th day of the dedication. The problem with this theory is Shabbos. Shabbat itself is the 7th day. It's not the 8th day. Are you to tell me that Shabbat is part of the natural? Isn't Shabbat beyond nature? The Rabbi of Slonim says that we need to distinguish between 2 aspects of Shabbos. There's what we call the Yom HaShvi'i, the 7th day of creation, which Vayevarach Elokim et Yom HaShvi'i Vaykadesh Oto. God blessed the 7th day and He sanctified the 7th day. That's one aspect of Shabbos. And there's a second aspect of Shabbos called Shabbos. And that is indeed in the realm of the eighth, in the realm of beyond nature. Shabbos indeed partakes of nature and beyond the natural as well. And this explains the distinction between the Jewish role and the Gentile role when it comes to Shabbos. The rabbis discourage the Gentiles from partaking of Shabbat. And we say in our Shabbat morning services that God is giving Shabbos to no one else. And we could easily ask, what do you mean God has not given Shabbos to the world? Doesn't it say in Genesis that God sanctified and blessed the seventh day? Isn't that for all of the world? Isn't, after all, it's a celebration of nature? If Shabbos is a celebration of nature, then it should be for all of humanity. But no. The fact is, we add to Shabbos another layer, the layer of Zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim, the layer of remembering the Exodus as well, the layer which is beyond natural. We add to Shabbos the notion of no work. Whereas, for a Gentile, perhaps the notion of recognizing God as creator of the universe and recognizing that on the seventh day, that's a beautiful thing. A special day for Shabbos, that's beautiful. But the notion that a Jew abstains from work, that a Jew living in 1950 when almost all jobs were 6 days a week and he decided to take off for that seventh day, for that day where there was no day off, and he jeopardized his own career, where to this day people sacrifice to make sure that they close their businesses Friday night, Shabbos. This is beyond the natural. This is asking so much, it's beyond what humanly conceivable. This aspect of Shabbos is the eighth day. It's beyond the natural. There's an aspect of Shabbos which is universal. The notion of celebration of the creation of the world. But there's another notion. The liberation from slavery, the liberation from the natural world, the liberation from being a slave to this world where I must work. This is beyond nature. This is something that's way, way beyond. We have then the natural and the supernatural, the 7 and the 8th. A Jew is to live in the 7 days of Sukkot, 7 days of Pesach. Even Shabbos itself, in some ways, is the 7. We live in this world, it's a natural world, but also we try to live in the realm of the 8th day of the dedication of the tabernacle, the 8th day that we're looking forward to when we receive the Torah on Shavuos, the 8th day of Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, where there are no ritual, practical, hands-on mitzvot. And we make that radical statement on the 8th day of birth. And we say, the body is natural. The body is beautiful. God's creation. But you know what? In this world, we're going to attempt to go one step further than that. We're going to attempt to make the human being even better than the natural. And we're going to try to take this human being and take this human being to the realm of the supernatural, the realm of Shabbos. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sephardi Beth Elameth congregation for today's discussion. Join us again next week again. Each week you can find other discussions from prior years as well, stored here at the ASBEE Memphis website. You're welcome to email me at rabbijmf.com for any comments or questions. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible here at the Anshe Sephardi Beth Elameth congregation. Thank you very much.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.